Okay, we are recording. So, welcome everyone to our February Tech Bite. Um, Today is going to be a very quick uh, presentation only on our professional services we have available at Checkpoint. Um, Wanted to kind of take it easy on our uh, session this month because we do have CPX coming up next week, and there's going to be tons of information coming out of there. And I just didn't want to keep anybody too long, especially if they're going to be loading up on Checkpoint next week, and I hope they are. So, professional services. So, Checkpoint's professional services is a global organization, right? We are a global company, and therefore we have a global network of professional services. Um, we focus mostly on the America side, but there are people out in other parts of the world, out in the Eastern Hemisphere there. We are a global organization. We have deep knowledge, as you might expect, of the full Checkpoint product suite on our bench of engineers on PS. Um, just in the Americas themselves, we have almost 100 professional services consultants. We have 500 plus customers that are, recurring customers, and in 8 separate countries we have people. So what is it that we do? We kind of help you through multiple steps, right? And some of this is going to probably either piggyback or even overlap with some of the other things we do in pre-sales, et cetera. But um, first, consultation, right? We validate your security design architecture. We can perform security configuration review. We design things, right? So we plan your security design, we plan your architecture, we create a security platform for optimal security performance. We deploy, and this is probably the one that most people think of with pro services, right? So we will get new customers with new installs up, running, and quickly. We will make refreshes and upgrades seamless for you, right? Optimization as well, right? So sometimes customers have an environment it's already set up, it's already running, or they did it themselves, and they just they could use a like a health check on their firewalls, or a policy check, or a policy revision, etc. So optimization, right? We can boost your security performance. We could target rules and policies and gateways that may be could be tweaked. We minimize your exposure to risk, and then operation, right? We have a flexible service models that are built so that we can fit everybody's needs, right? We do staff augmentation, right? Resident engineer, and we do managed services 24/7. So here's some example of short-term PS projects, right? Because I know everybody has in their head to do hey, I bought a firewall, let's install it. But we do much more than that, right? Um, for example, we can design an architecture consulting, right? We can do migrations from third parties to Checkpoint, and also from Checkpoint to Checkpoint. We can do software and hardware upgrades. We can do multi-domain and VSX migration, because both of those, I'm sure some people aren't even sure what those are, and some people, some people definitely are and kind of wish they didn't. But our multi-domain environments, our VSX environments that can get tricky to navigate, uh, we can help you with those too. We can enable and configure software blades, right? So you got the software blades you're paying for in the subscription. You haven't tried them, or perhaps you have them in a some kind of mode that is not optimal. We can configure them correctly. We can deploy all Checkpoint products. So obviously the firewalls, also Harmony. So the endpoint, the mobile, the email, the SASE, and then also all our things in the cloud. Firewalls in the cloud, cloud security posture management, our app scanning, etc. Anything in our CNAP. Um, we can also do Harmony endpoint pilot implementations. Optimization, right? That's a big thing. That's a big thing we do, and it's a small, short-term engagement. We spend a lot of time where we can look at your environment, make some changes or some recommendations to change, and make it run a little better and get you a little better performance out of it. We do even hotfix installs, security workshops, best practice reviews. That's a nice one. A lot of customers are into that. Um, Documenting your existing checkpoint environment and helping you track what you have and where it's all at. We also can do customized training for your users, which sometimes is for your admins, I should say, which is sometimes very helpful. Um, so the other side of the pro service house is what we call ATAM, or Advanced Technical Account Manager. This is when you have someone that you spend you work with that person specifically, right? And if you're familiar with uh, Diamond support and the Diamond engineer that comes with it, this is similar in many aspects to Diamond support or Diamond engineer. So ATAM is a designated technical expert who with primary responsibility to understand your organization specifically. They become your other advocate besides your sales team here within Checkpoint. They're always heavily experienced. They ensure that you get the most value from your Checkpoint investment. They ensure your organization is following best practices. They keep you updated on new features, enhancements, and hot fixes and updates. They increase the Checkpoint knowledge among your IT staff, and they continuously work towards improving and having a healthy Checkpoint environment. Um, Basically, every time they do a project with you, they'll tell you, hey, these are my recommendations going forward, and you can use them. You can do it yourself. But the ATAM is a handy service to get the best out of your investment. So we also have long-term consulting, right? Which is really what we always called resident engineer. So it's staff aug basically, right? So uh, a long-term consultant is a resource supplied by Checkpoint to work in the client environment as pretty much as a member of the customer's day-to-day staff. The person takes work direction from the client. Checkpoint will provide some administrative oversight. This person can be remote or on site. Checkpoint product expert staff with access to product management resources. So the nice thing is now you have someone who's essentially part of your staff, but also has quick and direct access to many Checkpoint resources. So that's the staff aug is definitely neat too. And then the customized training, right? So basically, basically what we've done is in the past is we've been able to essentially take a customer, customers and ask them what is it that your group doesn't know that they need to know, right? Like just straight up, right? What is it that they need to know that they don't know? And then we can deliver training on that, right? And it can be delivered by our experts. We could even do hands-on labs, real life scenario. We can even do it on your equipment if we want, if it makes sense to do that. Um, could be short training, long training, and it could be on a wide variety of topics within Checkpoint. And I'm going to stop real quick and check the questions. I don't see any questions currently, which is cool. Okay, so project management, right? So with Checkpoint offers project management. Um, we do also assign project managers to certain, you know, projects. Um, the project management offering, right? To having one of our PMs, it reduces the risk of complex projects creeping on and on and on and on, and we've all been there. We've all been there where, we say, oh, we're going to put in some new thing, shouldn't take too long. And then we get bogged down with this and we have to test that and this thing and this. And then we end up doing 4 other things that we get other tasks that come at us. The PM is a single point of contact that can govern to ensure that the project is moving at the pace it should to ensure success, right? Could also deal with like scope change and stuff like that, but and it does, a PM will do a lot of reporting, to demonstrate, hey, we've met these milestones, and here are the milestones to come. But a PM's very helpful with making sure that your projects don't run on and endlessly, right? Oop, back one. There we go. The other thing our pro services does, which I'm not sure customers know this, is we do pen testing and cyber resilience and things like that, right? So we have our arm that does pen testing, and we've had customers do it before, and we could do it in remote locations, which is really nice because of this extended global organization we have, right? We could do external pen tests, internal pen tests, mobile pen tests. We could pen test your web applications. We could do a cloud security assessment. We could test your Wi-Fi. We could test your VoIP. We could test. We could do all sorts of social engineering exercises. So we have a lot of things, and I know a lot of customers do pen tests on some kind of regular schedule, once a year, twice a year, every 6 months, and they like to mix it up, different vendors every time, so they get like a different test. Um, we have a lot of professionals in this area. This is definitely one you should check us out. It's good stuff. Pen testing will be provided in a detailed report with specific recommendations, right? So we'll outline the findings of the test, identify the vulnerabilities, recommend how to fix them. And now remediation can be done by the customer or by a partner or by our professional services arm. We've had customers turn around and say, okay, this is the pen test. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Come back and fix it. We retest, right? So if we do the remediation, uh, or we'll retest, and we can retest for you anyway if that's part of the project. Um, and then we debrief, right? Discuss our findings, any recommendations, anything that is interesting or odd or different. Um, our managed services, we leverage Checkpoint expertise to manage and maintain your assets, right? So this is again letting PS experts take ownership of your Checkpoint infrastructure, available for customer-owned infrastructure as well as firewall as a service. We configure, migrate, initial gateway, 24 by 7 availability management, change management, and release management handled by major and minor upgrades. Basically, this is us, you doing your firewalls, right? So in summary, so I know we blew through a lot very quickly. Our Checkpoint PS, right? The key benefits. The first one, and this is the one that customers usually talk about before and after, confidence that a Checkpoint expert will take ownership, reduce risk, and successfully complete the project in a timely fashion, right? You're dealing with Checkpoint people at Checkpoint. So that's the beauty of dealing with us for PS. Um, our experts have extensive field experience, right? And they provide real world knowledge and implementation and also the ability to prevent known and potential issues, right? These are the type of guys that very quickly say, well, I've seen customers do that before, but here's where it gets a little tricky, and I'd rather do it this way. Or, hey, this is a great idea. You should do it that way. That's the kind of stuff our guys are able to do because they spend all day on Checkpoint, right? Um, Allow you to use the latest and greatest security features available today, right? It's hard to keep up with updates all the time, and it's hard to start new features that didn't exist prior and learn about them and get more uh, knowledgeable about them. So, if you don't have the time for all that, we do. Um, Configure and maintain your security environment at best practices level, right? Always good to have a new set of eyes that can maybe help you optimize how things are going. Optimize and stabilize your environment to get the full benefit of the Checkpoint security suite. And I really can't stress that one enough. You've made an investment in Checkpoint. Many of us have made a very large investment in Checkpoint, and to add the staff to help you get the most return on it can sometimes be a huge help to that. And then, of course, support during upgrades, migrations, and maintenance windows, which is kind of the bread and butter uh, of what Checkpoint PS does. So that is it. Do we have any questions? And I see one already. The question is, do you need to have a specific project in mind, or can you purchase PS days and have them to use, when something comes up? And the answer is yes, you can do either way, right? Many of our short-term engagements are scoped. Hey, here's some new firewalls. We're going to migrate them to a certain version. We're going to put the new policy on them. We're going to test them. That's a lot, very common scope of work, very specific. But we also have customers that just buy a block of days. They'll buy, 5 or 10 or 20 days. They'll have this block, and then they'll have an engineer come on site, do a project they wanted to do. The project gets an extensive write up. Every project gets an extensive write up from PS at the end, and they look at it and say, "Hey, there's a section where it has like next step recommendations, and one of them is to, I don't know, turn on IPS or enable SSL decryption, right? That's one I've definitely seen. Um, you can turn around with that block of days and say, okay, how many days will it be to do that SSL encryption, and let's go ahead and start it on up. And that's a very typical scenario where customer buys a block of days and they kind of have like ongoing improvement, and that helps to really strengthen their cyber positioning, their cyber posture, because they're able to keep making those steps as advised by our experts. They keep making and taking those steps to improve incrementally, right? Good question. Um, I got another one that asks about are your engineers on site or remote? And the answer is yes. We can do remote engagements. We can do on site. We can do a little mix of both. Many of the projects kind of have like an off site component and an on site component. We do have people, kind of spread out throughout, throughout the world, but throughout, the U.S. in terms of our group, mostly our scope here. We do have engineers spread out throughout the U.S., and we can have people on site quickly, schedules allow, and we can, help you out with that. Good question. Oh, one more question. So, the question is, how do we go about planning a project, right? So if there is a specific project, right, you want to, we'll use that same example. You want to enable SSL decryption, right? Usually what we'll do is we'll get someone from the pro services team to get on a short call. It's going to be quick, 30 minutes. Get on a quick call with you and scope out what needs to be done. They'll learn a little bit about your existing environment. They'll ask what it is you're trying to achieve. They'll ask, whatever relevant questions. In this case, they might ask like websites you want to bypass, or, do you want to apply it to some of your environment, but not all, things like that. But they'll ask you all the questions. They'll write up a nice statement of work for you, very specific in what needs to be done. And assuming that the statement of work is agreeable, you'll sign it, and the project will commence. And once it's finished, you'll get your write up with what was done, what anything that came up, any sort of difficulties, and next steps and so forth. Good question. I don't see any other questions. So I appreciate everybody hopping on. If you do have questions, as always, please reach out to me. Don't hesitate. Looking forward to CPX next week, and hoping that I'm certain I'm going to come out of there with a bunch of updates. And probably next month's TechByte is going to be some of the major headlines from CPX. So great to see you guys. Appreciate it, and thank you for your time, and have a great day.